Hi, I'm Becca Francis. I'm here on Agile World today. We're talking about wellness, and in this space, I'm going to introduce you to ADHD and how my journey with ADHD and agility have come together. Some of the awesome benefits of ADHD, I truly believe it's my superpower because I am fun to be around. I love to have fun, love to motivate teams at work. I am awesome at working under pressure, and most ADHD people share that as well. And I love to motivate teams, get them to see how you can do things a little bit differently, bit of a visual learner, so bringing in some of the agile tools as well to help people on that as well. And also quite impulsive, which means that you go on a bit of a journey, a bit of a ride with me, because you never know what you're going to get next.
But it's always going to be creative and fun.
Definitely.
Love it. And hello, and welcome to Agile World Wellness again. Hello, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Sabrina?
I'm loving the red. This is it. I mean, this is the color. It's my favorite color. It's my excuse for a particular brand of shoes because it is my favorite color. I have to have those shoes. It goes with my nails. I mean, my most favorite color. Can we keep this one? Can we keep it?
You know, I think we could. For those of you listening on the podcast, we have this beautiful red, and Sabrina with her dark black hair and her black and white outfit, she makes this color pop. Like I gotta tell you, she's like bam, like movie star colors here. So if you guys are missing out, you're missing out. You need to watch the video. And today we're also here with Becca Francis, who if you don't know Becca Francis, you need to follow her on LinkedIn. She actually convinced me to sign up for TikTok. I subscribed to TikTok for one person, one reason only, and that's Becca Francis. And she's here to talk to us about her journey and dealing with ADHD and how that applies to agility. She is an agile coach. She is an absolutely brilliant human being and absolutely adorable. I kind of fell in love with her videos from the very first time I saw her. And having and dealing with ADHD myself and not being diagnosed till late in life, it becomes a very important issue for me. So I am grateful for this. I have lots of friends that are dealing with it. And Becca, it just makes it all so happy and so wonderful. So gratefully, we are here with Becca and Sabrina. So Becca, what's up? How you doing today?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm doing really good. Yeah, great. Really excited to be here.
So Becca, I have a fellow Brit. I'm sorry, just got a note. We've got a fellow person from the UK here. So it's the two UKs against the US today.
Uh-oh. Am I in trouble? The US, we get beat up a lot. I recently took my son to a rugby match, and we saw the New Zealand All Blacks, and they destroyed the United States Eagles. Most people didn't even know that the US has an international rugby team, but we do. And we did much better than we did in 2018, as we scored 2 tries. So the score was only 106-14. So where in a few years ago, it was much worse. But anyway, I am here with 2 lovely, lovely British ladies. And life is so good. So Becca, now you started creating these TikTok videos, and in 90 seconds, you just summed up what Agile is, how it applies, and how people could do it, along with your ADHD. So what's that? What made you decide to do this?
Well, I mean, it's much to discuss to my 14-year-old daughter, but she taught me how to use TikTok. I find there's so much content out there, awesome content. But when you're kind of scrolling through stuff, it's quite easy to get lost in that scrolling, and I wanted to do something that was just a little bit different, that was impactful. And having ADHD myself, I cannot stand these 2, 3, 4 minute videos that you're trying to watch, and you just want to get to what are they actually talking about. And so in TikTok, within 30, 60, 90 seconds, whatever it is, I can get quite a good message across. I don't actually have to speak, so if I'm not feeling particularly confident, I can do it in other ways and put captions on, and make, you know, a real powerful kind of message and just raise the awareness of ADHD and agility.
Now, okay, because I think that's beautiful, and your videos are amazing, and they're all going to be in the show notes, so everybody will have links to your stuff, and I think they're absolutely adorable. So what was it? When did you get diagnosed with ADHD, and how does that make you different and special in so many different ways?
Yeah, I do believe it's my superpower, and I'm really passionate about it. When people talk about ADHD, you know, I try and talk about the positives of it, but there are lots of negatives as well, you know, or drawbacks that make life very hard and difficult, and, you know, the challenge more so for people with ADHD. I was diagnosed a year ago, so at the age of 34. But I knew that I got ADHD for about 3 to 4 years before that. And that was because I was going through my son's diagnosis at the time. And I was working with a coach for my son. And she kind of pointed out to me that, Becca, you might want to explore this because, you know, it's hereditary. And actually, you're displaying some of the same behaviours that your son has. And you're quite similar. So I went on my journey of learning lots about ADHD in women, particularly in girls, and then finally decided to bite the bullet and go through the diagnosis process. So yeah, diagnosed last year.
Okay, how did you find that process?
Oh wow, yeah. So I mean, I eventually did go private at the NHS. Unfortunately, the route to get some support was very challenging. I went to a couple of GPs that, you know, they actually laughed at me, told me to go away and complete an anxiety diary for 3 weeks and come back. And I wasn't anxious. I actually wasn't anxious. And I had to research so much about it. You know, I already kind of knew that I was ADHD. And so it was really frustrating because I was dealing with people that actually didn't have that knowledge and experience. So in the end, I was very fortunate. I saved up. And I did the same for my son, to be honest, which is hard as a single parent. I saved up to be able to go through the diagnosis process. And the doctors that I saw as part of that were incredible, absolutely awesome. They helped me through that process as well, realise a lot about my job and what I was good at in my job and why. But that after you kind of get this diagnosis, you get a pack of paper that tells you you're ADHD, and I was really far on the scale, and that's it. Like, you're like, okay, so now what? And I went on what I'd say was a bit of a roller coaster at that point. I started doing a lot of reflection on my journey, you know, my life, and actually things that, you know, the penny kind of dropped. I realized why I was the way I was in some ways, and some of those were negative, you know, ways, and some of those were positive. So I went on this real journey of self-discovery for a couple of months, and that's when I realized that actually, you know, it was a real powerful tool, and the diagnosis gave me not a label, it gave me a way to articulate myself better in terms of my strengths, in terms of actually who I really am and why I am the way I am. And I truly believe that that was a really pivotal moment of my life that's allowed me to really come into my own and understand myself a lot better than I did.
And that's inspiring, because I think a lot of people fear to get a diagnosis because they think, oh, as you just mentioned, I'm going to get labeled, when it's not a label. And I'm so glad that you promote it as a superpower, because they are these, I don't like to name them as disorders or anything like that. They are superpowers. They bring out differences in people and in us. You know, I'm dyslexic. That is my superpower, you know? And I just think it's amazing, but people do, and it's a shame they fear about getting that diagnosis without realizing that diagnosis can really help. And also the fact you've mentioned how you actually reflected on yourself as well.
Yeah,
powerful.
I think you're completely right. I mean, you know, think about the name ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder it's such a negative, name. And I mean, my son, when he was diagnosed, it was like, the naughty boy syndrome. It was because I was a single parent. It's because I didn't discipline him. And then I'm here and I'm like, hang on, and now tell me that, and actually it's not that it's a disorder, it's not that it's a deficit. We can focus in the most awesome ways that other neurotypical people can't. But it's like you say, it's recognizing that everybody is very different and individual, and unfortunately in society we don't embrace that. From the moment a child is born, we try and put people into boxes, we try and people categorize people. And I'm a great believer that things were different in society from the moment that child enters the world. Life is a lot different. But it happens. I think I might have frozen. And it happens. We've got this process that we need to go through.
We've got you back. Don't worry, we got that.
Your internet is acting up a little bit, but that's okay. Let's keep going and see how it goes. See what happens. But I love the fact that you come to the realization that everybody's different, because yes, you and I may have ADHD and Sabrina might be dyslexic, but every person I work with, everybody on the team is different. They're all different. They all have certain skills that they're really good at and certain things that they are not so good at. So and that's the same thing. So this helps categorize us and shows what we're really good at. But everybody has the same thing, whether they're diagnosed with something or not, right?
Yeah. I mean, what it's allowed me to do as well is I can see very quickly, in men more so, but sometimes women, I can spot ADHD really quickly now.
Uh-oh.
And I've got a team of people, and honestly, within 10 minutes of working with this guy, I knew straight away he was ADHD. But what it allowed me to do was use my team that I've got and work out what their skills and strengths were. And actually that person would be really awesome at doing this thing, and that person would be really awesome doing that. And playing, getting that team to play to their strengths of the stuff they were really awesome at. And so it made them really gel well. So yeah, recognizing those differences and balancing that out, and helping people to say, in a place where they feel positive about coming to work because they are who they are, and you're supporting that is something that I'm really passionate about.
And I bet that's an extremely happy team, because having the ability to actually notice people's strengths and weaknesses. But I still don't even like to use the words weaknesses,
No.
but noticing those abilities in people, they probably have an absolutely amazing time at work. They probably literally are like school children. I'm now envisioning them bouncing and skipping, ready to go into, I know that's not how we work, but maybe it's just us agilists that get excited. But sometimes having somebody there that can notice that makes things a lot better. And you probably change their life in one sense, and they've got a happier environment.
Yeah, I hope so. They definitely seemed to be happy. And yeah, we worked really well as a team. And I would say sort of the two leaders that stand out for me in my life were people that embraced me as I was, and and let me play to my strengths. So I've learned from that experience. So hopefully I give that to others as well.
That's beautiful, and you can give them a shout out if you want. Who are those two leaders that helped you so much?
The two leaders. So in West, I worked with him in the police, which is where I first got into agility. And Damien Kirk, who I worked with when I worked at an energy company, absolutely incredible leader. So yeah, definitely helped make me who I am on my journey.
Oh, that's wonderful. So how did you stumble across agility, and how did you, and when you started realizing that you were different, how did that play into it?
So I stumbled across agility working with Jim on a huge program of work, and we just started doing things differently. I mean, on the back of it, I got an award with that team and it was called Doing It Differently Award, and it's something I'm so proud of, because I think that's what I am. I like to do things differently. And we basically started work and on the web page, app that we were doing, and we were working as one collaborative team. And every day we came in and we had a laugh, and we were getting feedback constantly, and we were talking to people that, you know, normally these people sat in different offices and they didn't ever speak to each other. It was all via email. And that's how I got into agility. And I was just like, this is so awesome. Like, I loved coming to work every day. And that's kind of where it started. Got that, you know, we got that award as a team, and it just got my mind going. And from then on, I left that role. I went into another role, and someone said to me, "You'll never get agility. You'll never get agility here. You'll never be able to deliver that project in an agile way either. The business and IT don't talk to each other." And I was like, okay, there we go. Becca's got a challenge. So made it happen. And that was it. I just saw so many benefits of working in that one team with a shared goal, you know, with everyone with their differences, getting that feedback. I just saw so much change working in that way that I loved it. And it just, yeah, had this passion inside of me then.
I wonder if you've got the same, you sound very similar to me. I love it. I wake up every morning and I don't feel I'm going to work. That's how much I love doing what I do. And because of the funness, the smiles, the challenges, I get bored if I don't get challenged. Do you feel the same?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I would say I'm so passionate that if I don't have that passion in me, I struggle to do that job. I've got to have that passion in my belly. I love, you know, when I went through my ADHD diagnosis, they asked me what I did, and the closest thing at the time I could say was I was in project management. I was in that world. And he sort of looked at me and I said, "Some of my friends find this really funny." It's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "We know I have to plan. I've spent years having to plan. I've had to, you know, have to be on time for things, all of the things I naturally find hard and in my personal life and crap at." And he said, "Yeah," he said, "but I bet you're good at getting teams to work together, aren't you?" And that's always stayed with me from my diagnosis. And I reflected, and that's what I was good at doing. I was good at having fun. I was good at speaking to people. I was good at motivating people. I was good at listening to people. And that's what, you know, for me, agility is about. It's about people. I wasn't good at the plans. I was good at empowering the team to do that. I never did it. You know, I was getting them to organise around it. And yeah, my passion is people, seeing and motivating people, helping people, empowering them, and letting them have that self-belief as well. So I got into stuff like fitness training, personal training outside of work as well, because that, again, was just something that I absolutely loved doing, loved helping people.
You're a healer at heart, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I love about you, and you too, Sabrina. You both like to heal people and help people in whatever ways you can, and that's a lot of why we decided to create Agile World Wellness, because this is the perfect forum for it. We often forget about taking care of ourselves and taking care of our teams. So that's beautiful that you're able to do this. So with the teams, there's all this diversity, right? Everybody's different. Everybody has, you know, is stronger in some areas than they are in others. So what are some of the strong areas that you have? What are some of your extra superpowers that really stand out because of who you are?
That's such a hard question, because anyone that knows about ADHD will also know that with it comes you know, huge challenges with imposter syndrome and self-esteem. If I think about, I guess I'm just me, and I'm genuine. You know, I like to listen to people and help people. I'm honest, and I think in a lot of leadership roles as well, especially, you know, that authenticity and honesty, a lot of people traditionally in those kind of roles maybe don't always demonstrate, and I always have. You know, I've always demonstrated that. I've always challenged and challenge the status quo. I always ask why, And I think, that's probably down to my ADHD as well. I'm always asking why. One of the biggest things I'd say is seeing that end-to-end picture. And I remember like thinking, oh, why does no one get this? Is it just my brain? Is it just my brain? Why does nobody else think like this? And now I'm like, oh, maybe it is my brain. Maybe it's because I see things in a totally different way to other people. And that is a huge strength, because, through that, the ways that I've managed to get teams to think about their work, get them to think about their customers, get them to think about customer journeys and, bigger impacts. And the tools that I've been able to use has really been useful for them. And I think I'm quite fun, to be honest. I think that helps teams.
You are just a little bit of fun. I gotta say. I
More
love
than
you.
a little
I love
bit.
you. I follow you. When I see one of your videos, I get excited before I even start it, because I just absolutely love it. But some of the things that I've discovered about ADHD is I'm a great party host, because it, one of the things about ADHD is many people can focus specifically on one thing regardless of the distractions, and they miss everything that's going on around them. Well, because of who we are, I tend to get distracted. I tend to notice everything going on around me on the peripherals. So if somebody new comes to a party, I recognize it. I realize there's somebody there. So I spot them and I go over, and I can have, a dozen 3 to 5 minute conversations with people in an hour, where other people might stand in one place and have, a conversation for an hour with one person. And which makes me a very unique facilitator, because I tend to see everything going on in the room. If it looks like somebody doesn't get it, I spot that. And other people may not have that ability. Other people can dig in and focus on one thing, directly. And it also is strange. I do love to go to parties, but like if we're, in a crowded restaurant at dinner, I hear everybody's conversation around me, and that drives me nuts. So when doing training or facilitating, especially with PI planning or something large where there's 150 people, I tend to spot everything. I'm far more likely to be able to spot the teams in trouble or the teams with questions before other people do. So that is one of the superpowers that we end up with because of the ADHD in particular, which I think is kind of great. Sabrina, now what is this dyslexic superpowers you have? Because you're just an amazing human being on your own.
Oh, do you know what? I found out accidentally. Yeah, again, I think we all do as adults. I think it's a common theme. I remember I took redundancy. This shockingly decided I'll get my Prince 2 qualification. And while I was going through my certification, I was like top of the class, because I'd already done project management in my previous role. I'd done some leadership stuff as well. And I was top of the class. Like, I answered all the questions. I knew what was going on because I'd done it for a living. I just wanted the certification. And then when it came to the examination, I literally just passed. And I remember my trainer pulled me in and said, right, I'm a bit shocked with you. And I went, why? What's wrong? And he went, well, you're top of the class. He said you could almost do what I'm doing. But when it came to the examination, you quite literally just scraped. And I went, yeah, I was struggling with this and I was struggling with that. And he then turned around and said, if I'd sat down with you, and he asked me some of the questions, and it was bang, 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 bang came out. And he said to me, how were you in school when you were a child? Asked me a question. He went, have you ever been diagnosed with being dyslexic? And I said, no. And he went, do you know what? He said, lucky you passed. He said, because I wouldn't be able to get you to the next stage. He said, but any chance we can get you quickly diagnosed so then we can get you help. And that's when my husband did research to test. And the weird thing about it was I was actually tested 13, 14 times as a child at school. They were constantly saying, we think she might be, and I was passing all the tests. So they couldn't understand it. They kind of almost turned it around and said, because I've got dual nationality, because I'm Sicilian and English, so it was multi languages, they just actually used to tell my parents off and say, you're confusing your daughter because you are speaking to her in Italian as well as English. And which was not very nice for my parents, to be honest. And it actually stopped them from, using the secondary language with me. But that's how it will happen with me. But now, as far as I'm concerned, it's my superpower, because it means, one, I've been open and honest now. Being a consultant, I normally sit around a leadership level, and I'm open and honest, and I say, I'm dyslexic. My strengths are with speech more than with written. I'm not very good with my written. I'm, very grateful if someone can correct my spelling, or if they see something spelt right there and not right there. This is the reason why. And since opening up, I've had more and more people come up to me and go, do you know what? I've never been able to open up about it, but I'm the same. And it's now got to a stage when I'm in a room of people and I just quickly announce and just go, just to let you guys know, I'm dyslexic. I'm happy about it. You see anything spelled wrong, please just go in and spell it right for me. I don't get offended. And more people are opening up about it and actually going, do you know what, so am I. Or I think I am as well, I've just never diagnosed. But yeah, getting that diagnosis meant, well, these are my strengths, so I'm going to use them. I'm going to try and improve myself on some of my weaknesses, but with the use of Grammarly and other tools like that. But actually, I'm good at this, so that's what I'm going to use. So that's how I ended up. One thing I want my now. Oh, go on. No, go on.
I was going to ask, in terms of if you're facilitating workshops, do you have a different lens on it because of your dyslexia?
So do you know what? I'm more of, I don't always actually have problem with the visualization of the writing. So it does move slightly, but not as bad as others. I was working with a wonderful lady who actually wore purple glasses, and she actually got people look at a stranger going, why are you wearing sunglasses? It's raining and dark and thunder and lightning outside. And it's like, no, they're special glasses. On the visualization side, I'm not so bad. The one problem I do have is the speed of things go through my brain, and also the learning side of it. I'm a bit slower. So if I'm writing a training documentation, I know a lot of agile coaches or trainers, they're told it within 40 hours, we need you to run this training session. They could whip that up quite quickly. For me, it's extremely slow. And there's wording that is either backwards. One word which I'm terrible for is have. I know how to spell have. It's H-A-V-E, but I will always spell it H-V-A-E or H-A-E-V, just no matter what. So bless my husband is amazing. He will always, when I have to write a blog or something that's going to go out and I need a bit of backup, he will always run a check. And there'll be words that are spelled backwards, words that are spelled completely conjunct, to just get muddled up. But I'm lucky when it comes to facilitation. I'm more I've worked out ways, and I like to say I've blagged ways, but I've worked out ways that allows me to either have someone else with me that can do the written stuff while I'm doing the talking and the moving around, and also worked out ways of getting people to more focus on me. If I'm in a room, have multiple whiteboards in a room, so I'm constantly walking around and keeping active, so they're more focusing on me and taking in what I'm saying rather than what I'm trying to write. And I just make a big joke about it and just go, do you know what, that is definitely spelled wrong. I gave it a go. We'll use a game at the end of it to show me where things should actually go. That's how I've done it over the years. And I've only had 3 circumstances in my life where I've had someone physically look down on me and make me feel stupid because of it. And that has helped, that has taught me the response I should give to that type of individual when they have done that to me, because I am not stupid because I'm dyslexic. So, but that's how I've dealt with it. But anyway, thank you. I do have a question for you that I think would be really, really helpful for our viewers. Is you also mentioned a bit about the struggles. And would you mind going through some of the struggles and how you've been able to almost turn those struggles or those negatives into the positives, or into how you can do things differently? If you wouldn't mind starting, go for it.
Okay, so yeah, one piece that I haven't mastered so well in, so I really I'm really optimistic about what I can achieve in the morning, for example, and that sometimes means I actually achieve it, because we get this thing called time blindness and we get wrapped up in all of what we're trying to do, too many tasks at once. But what I have managed to do, so in terms of like work stuff, is I know myself well enough now that I know if someone gives me a task, it's not that I'm lazy. I mean, with ADHD comes a huge challenge of procrastination if it's not something that's interesting to me. But I will, if someone wants something, say a document, and they want it a finished product on a Friday, don't ever ask me for it on a Wednesday. If you want to see it on a Wednesday, ask me for the finished product then. So I'm really good now at managing expectations with people, so that's just how I work. I work really, really well under pressure, which is great. And so, I mean, wow, like, imagine if it's the dopamine you get from it, we're like, oh, it's really fun doing this. And I don't know, a bit weird. But so I can manage that. But one thing that a lot of ADHD people struggle actually starting tasks that are particularly boring is a real challenge. I think of my phone's
Becca, we're losing you. We're losing you.
Want to try and turn your video off? See if that works. We'll test it for a few seconds. Yeah.
Hi.
There you go. That seems I've had to do that multiple times. Sometimes it just gives you a little bit of a boost if you turn it off and back on.
What a disaster.
Don't worry about it. We'll probably keep this bit in.
What do you mean a disaster? This is just how it goes, right? Everything is different. There's good, there's bad.
You live in the real world. You said you like being under pressure.
Oh, at least none of you are frozen in like weird positions for me yet.
We'll find some.
So sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, so time blindness. ADHD is really difficult for us, and we just get so wrapped up in what we're doing, and especially if it's something interesting. I mean, like TikTok, you think we go on there for minutes and you're there like 2 hours later. But yeah, I've also sort of brought in timers. So starting tasks, especially if they're boring, is really difficult. So I've got like a little timer. So maybe I'll put something on my board and I will set a certain time that I'll allocate to that. And then I'll be able to like start the task. Things like as well, bringing in music, or if I can, people used to laugh at me in my old job. They would find me on my spinning bike while working. And that's just because if I'm moving at the same time, I can just do what I need to do. So they're really useful things that have helped me.
Oh my God, I do the same. I love my bike, or now my treadmill. I've been known to be in a meeting and all you see is me doing this. And they're like, what are you doing, Sabrina? I'm on the treadmill. Great.
Yeah. Now, Becca, we lost you again, but you mentioned music, and I have discovered that trance music is one of the things that really helps me focus. And I couldn't figure out why for the longest time, but when I was working with a personal trainer and we were doing jumping rope, it was 90 beats a minute was my pace. That was just the natural pace I was stumbling into. And I later discovered that trance music tends to be at 90 beats a minute. So whatever it is, there's that my internal pace of fast flow. And if the music matches that, it seems to help me focus quite a bit. Because I always used to try to listen to classical music, which I do like, but it never helped me focus that much. But trance, boom, I'm there. What about you? What's your favorite?
My music is possibly kind of trance or dance if I'm working on stuff, but I have to make sure it doesn't have lyrics with it, because if it's got lyrics, I tune into the lyrics and I start listening and I start thinking about the story it's telling me, and then that's another thing. So yeah, I have to make sure it's got good beat but no lyrics. And I interestingly have the same with my classical music. I do if I'm driving home from work, I love classical music to get rid of the bring me down a little bit after the day, but not to work with.
Right. It doesn't help me focus. And for the longest time, people try to convince me that if I listen to Mozart, it'll help me focus. And I love Mozart. It calms me, but it doesn't help me focus at all. So I start wandering. So this has been absolutely wonderful. We've been chatting for about 30 minutes. So Becca, now there are some wonderful things about ADHD, and you recently did a TikTok on some of those wonderful points. And with your TikTok, it's all visuals. And I know a lot of people are listening to us. So, I feel like I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but would you mind running through a couple of those? Like, what are four or five of those things that when you turn the conversation around, what would that look like in your own words?
Yeah, so the most recent TikTok I did was talking about, as I mentioned earlier, some ADHD people struggle with self-esteem, and quite often that can be from childhood. So where we hear negative things as children, and typically ADHD children hear about 15 to every positive comment that they actually receive. So by the time they've hit adulthood, their self-esteem is quite low. Obviously, it can come through other things, in terms of not feeling great because they can't do certain stuff, and they don't know if you're undiagnosed, or you don't know why. So my recent TikTok was kind of flipping that and reframing those thoughts. So typically, we get comments about us being hyperactive. Actually, that means that we're typically kind of fun and good to have around. We have like impulsivity, and don't get me wrong, my impulsivity sometimes has got the better of me. But that's actually means that we're willing to take risks, so it's a real positive. Also, when I kind of talk about people saying about procrastination, and yes, it's a real challenge for us, but we work really, really well under pressure. So I basically, in my latest TikTok, was taking that whiteboard, because I love whiteboards, I love things that are visual, taking the negative associations with or words that are used for ADHD, and flipping my whiteboard around with a positive, and seeing it from a positive aspect, and reframing those words that are used.
Yeah, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. And one is, we do tend to blurt things out, but it's because we come up with so many ideas. So ADHD tends to breed creativity. So we often are far more creative and come up with a lot of ideas where other members of the team may not do that. We also tend to be far more enthusiastic about things. And we also tend to see lots of different possibilities, because that's always a focus. And we do tend to, it's really strange, but we tend to calm down more under pressure than many other personality types, which I always thought was very, very unique. So if there is a high pressure situation, we might be the calmest people there.
These are superpowers that we all wish we had. I would love to be in that situation when I'm in a high pressure situation. I'm like a rabbit in headlights. I can deal with it, and I do thrive with it. I do like this needs doing ASAP. But sometimes I'm like,
I'll admit it now, but I used to run sub meetings, and I'm not fibbing when I say any documentation that was needed was finished 2 minutes before that meeting was about to start. Don't get me wrong, I remember sitting there thinking, why am I like this? Why do I do this to myself? But I just produce the best stuff that way.
I'm notorious for that. Get an idea. Oh, let's put together the presentation now, because we have 47 minutes.
Do you have any other techniques that you could share that would be helpful?
Yeah, so one thing that one of my TikToks talks about is actually like Agile, and using Kanban, or even Scrum, to kind of help manage your life. So that sounds like pretty extreme, but I've used it also in kind of coaching for fitness as well. But I've also used it for homeschooling my children. And one of the things that I do quite often is something called a life wheel. So I don't know if you want me to show you on the screen for people that can't see it, but basically, it's because I've got a background on. I draw a
You might
wheel.
need to
You can't see it.
That's
draw
okay.
a wheel.
Yeah, I draw a wheel. So
We'll
close your
post it in the
eyes.
video.
Yeah. And around the outside of that wheel, I'll kind of put like typical things in my life. So health, community, if I'm doing anything in the community, finances, love life, Craig David, unfortunately, still hasn't dated me. I'll put things around the outside of the wheel. And
Good choice.
I do a check-in, and basically like I'll start in the center, and that's 0, and it goes all the way out to the outside, which is like 10, and I'll plot on there, where on each part of the wheel, out of 10, how am I feeling? Have I got my life in check? Now, ideally, it's meant to be a perfect circle that you draw, and I do not know anyone that's drawn a perfect circle, but I do that, and then I take from that. So, for example, if I'm not particularly enjoying my job, and it might be a 3, that will be the thing that I then use to prioritize what am I going to focus on. So rather than thinking, because my head, an ADHD head, my brain, I've got, God knows how many thoughts going on at the same time. I try and use that to then prioritize small little quick things that I'm going to work on and do differently. So I'll take that and I'll use that then to build my little backlog. So of what I'm going to work on, and I'll put that into my Kanban, and I'll start prioritizing it. So I bring Agile into my world of ADHD, of how I manage my own life and how I make slight improvements. One of the things ADHD people commonly suffer from is burnout, because we are always on the go. It's one of feedback that I've had routinely for years, and I'm a lot better at managing it now. But we can't sit still. I hate sitting still. I love to be busy, and I love to be doing stuff. And actually, this kind of forces me to manage my improvements better, and also to check in with myself, which we don't do because we're too busy doing everything else and wanting to be involved in everything.
One of the critiques I get about doing these videos is that I move around too much. So.
I don't mind it. I'm extremely expressionate, so I'm constantly like this.
I normally have blue tack or something, so I've moved quite a lot on this call. But yeah, I normally have blue tack or something if I've got to sit still for a while. Yeah,
you guys always have something in your hands. Always moving back and forth. I love the idea of the wheel. That's absolutely brilliant, because that's something that we use, with agility a lot. Is create the wheel, the radar charts, or the spider charts, whatever you want to call them, the spider webs. And where are you? And using that for your personal life makes so much sense. And the Kanban board, that's when, all right, I admit, look, I'm very happily married. My wife is awesome. However, I did get a crush on you when I saw that you did your first TikTok video. You had your little, and I know you want to date somebody else, but and that's okay, But you did your TikTok video and you created your little Kanban board. And in 90 seconds, you covered, you explained agility better than most people do in years, in books, which I just thought was brilliant. So, and you did it in such a great way that's when I knew I needed to learn more about you.
That wheel, I think, would be benefits not just for people with ADHD. I think a lot of people could actually benefit. I was thinking of that, going, I could do with that. I could do giving that a go. I'm almost like, it's my phone's behind me and I'm ready to reach, going, right, I've got TikTok. I haven't found you yet. So I want to see these. But no, the way you described it.
Look over your left shoulder, Sabrina. There's a wheel.
We're already there. But no, it's really, really smart. I can be a bit slow times. Maybe that's me being dyslexic.
Right shoulder, left shoulder.
But no, that sounds like a really handy technique that a lot of people could actually bring in. I was just thinking as soon as you were describing it.
Yeah, I've actually used it in. So when you talk about agile coaches, you can get people that think agile coaching is just agile, and actually, if you think about the essence of it, it's people, and you're trying to help people on their own journey, and people to help, to change the things and the ways they're working. And one of the coaching sessions, and my friend won't mind me sharing this, I actually did, was introducing this wheel, because it was like, how can you expect people to bring their whole self to work and their authentic self to work and to do fantastic stuff at work if they're not feeling great in their everyday life? And so we actually got to the bottom of, you know, what that person was feeling, and I introduced them to the wheel, and just giving them that time to reflect on themselves and be really honest about where they were. And then also bringing in then, you know, me coaching, me helping them with agility, it allowed them to think of it, you know, relate it to something. So rather than it being all this software stuff and all of that, it was actually, how can they do it in their personal life and take them on that journey that way? So it's really powerful.
I regularly reflect on myself, even if it's after a bad meeting, or things may have not gone the right way, or, you know, I want to make improvements. I regularly will go through and almost like an internal retrospective, and it doesn't even have to be with work, it'd be me as a person, you know. And that's, as soon as you mentioned about the wheel, I just thought that's a great way to, because I feel people have to, it's not just us agile coaches, it's not just doing it at work, you know, it's retrospecting on yourself on a regular basis is actually a positive thing. You know, none of us are perfect. And to be honest, if we were perfect, like when you mentioned, apparently the circle should be round, the first thing I thought about that was, now that's boring.
Yeah.
Perfection can be, it's boring. We want a bit of spikes. We want a bit of difference. We want a bit of, you know, ruffle our feathers a little bit in a very kind and polite way, and we don't hurt and upset people. But, you know, if we were all the same and we were all perfect, life would be boring. And what would we have to challenge ourselves? And especially with the year that we've had, where most of us have been, me personally, I've been locked in for over 1.5 years. If I didn't have something to challenge myself, how Agile World ended up happening, it would have been very dull, and I would have ended up sat there in my pajamas watching multiple Netflix over and over and over again. So yeah, I've already started thinking of my wheel.
And the beautiful thing is even if it was perfect today, it's not going to be in 3 weeks, right? Because things are going to adjust and fluctuate. So it's something that's always moving. Sabrina, this is wonderful. I think, Sabrina, what we should do is, I think we should get with Becca, and I think we should just do a session just on the wheel itself, if Becca was willing to do that. I wonder if we could get people to agree, to maybe subscribe to her TikTok channel, to subscribe to us, to send us comments and say, yes, we want more Becca. Because Becca, would you be willing to do that?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely.
Really
wonderful.
Thank you ever so much for your time. It's been absolute joy, and thank you very much, Steve. You're learning from me. Hook them in, make sure they can't leave us. That's it, you're ours now. Thank you very much. Love it. But no, it's been really, really eye-opening, and it's been really fun as well. And I've learned multiple things here, for things that I didn't even realize, that I feel hopefully I can maybe help improve and help somebody by at least understanding a bit more as well.
Thank you very much for having me. And I've learned stuff too. And I've learned that hopefully my internet will be better next time.
Okay. And then mine will, this will happen to mine. It happens. Oh, well, thank you ever so much. It's been amazing.
It does. And Becca, I'll take you any way I get you. Okay. So, because I can always learn from you. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.